I bet some of you have seen this.
Tiger shark!
Or this. I do this. And I can't tell you how many times I've been at a boat launch and someone has said this.
You know there's sharks out there, right?
5 minutes before I'm about to go paddle out by myself into the deep blue. If you're like me and you have these thoughts about sharks in the back of your head while you're kayaking, here's what I do to make myself feel better about being a less tasty snack for our lovely toothed friends. Let's dive in.
Mother Nature and wild animals are extremely unpredictable, and this is a serious subject. Please note that these tips will in no way save a life. It's just prevention.
One of the main things that I do is I try to keep a quiet paddle. Commotion and splashing is like a dinner bell for sharks. It usually signifies a sick or an injured fish, and sharks like easy snacks. So I like to have a quiet but confident paddle, but reduce the amount of splashing around my boat. Now, the chances of seeing a shark while you're kayaking is so slim, but when you think about backcountry hikers, they're usually equipped with bear canisters, bear bags, bear sprays in certain areas. They know what to do if they come in contact with a bear, so we have to have some preparations in place just in case. One area that I frequent my paddling in, they have helicopters that fly above and they check to see what the sharks are doing below them. So what they'll do is they'll alert a lifeguard, and lifeguards will pull swimmers out of the water. If lifeguards aren't pulling swimmers out of the water, I know that I'm fairly safe. Now, sometimes lifeguards will pull swimmers out of the water because they have to do a rescue or because there's a strong rip current. It never happened to me, but I would evaluate the situation if that did happen and then maybe just make my way back home and be safe or just get to shore. Yeah, check what the lifeguards are doing. Let's talk about food. And I don't mean about being food for sharks. I mean what you do with the food that you bring with you. This season, I started to really make sure that my water bottles and my thermoses were secure, and even my equipment, so it doesn't rattle around in my hatches. And this is so I eliminate low frequency sounds. Sharks are attuned to those low frequencies. If I eliminate low frequencies around me, then I don't draw as much attention to myself. Is this something that works? I don't know. It just makes me feel good. Now, let's talk about the food that we bring with us too. Most sea kayakers that bring food with them will have their food in airtight containers. Obviously, our dry hatches are airtight. That's how we stay afloat. But I like the idea that it's in airtight containers because the smells aren't emanating from my boat. I do not bring tuna fish sandwiches with me, and I used to avoid seafood the night before I went out on the water. Sometimes I still do that. It is what it is, but again, if it makes you feel better, you do it anyways. There's this concept in kayaking, and it is keep your head on a swivel. It's usually meant so you know what's going on with other boaters around you, so you're not in the entrances of marinas, and so you can see a jet skier coming at you at like 5,000 miles an hour, or to like make sure that there's no rocks around you, which sometimes causes capsizes. But keeping your head on a swivel with wildlife is really important too. Take a look at the textures of the waters around you, and if you're seeing splishes and splashes, it's probably a school of fish. And also keep an eye on the birds. I tend to watch what birds are doing. If there's a lot of birds in one area on the water, if the birds are coming from the sky and diving into the water, that means there's bait ball and or a school of fish. I don't want to put myself in that situation because if a shark is in that vicinity, they're either going to think that I'm a bigger snack, or they're gonna get territorial and they're gonna be like, can you please get out of here? This is my school of fish, not yours. Just want to avoid that particular encounter, so I just take a look for that. If you're in an area that has seals, seals are cute, stay far away from them. You do not want to get mistaken as a seal by a shark, and again, you also avoid a territorial bump or encounter. If you hear splashes around your boat, take a look at what that is too, because that could be the difference of you knowing a shark is coming at you or getting surprised by one. Usually it's a fish coming up and out of the water, or a cormorant popping up out of nowhere, making you scream like a little girl. Not sure if that's ever happened to me before. Just keep your head on a swivel, know what's going on around you. I've actually had 2 shark experiences, which I'll talk about later on in this video, and splashing was one of those things that I heard. Something else that I've done to really make myself feel great in the water is education. I researched what are the possible triggers of shark attacks and shark encounters with humans, and then tailored my own paddling habits to those concepts. I also started learning about the sharks that are native to the waters that I paddle in, what their behaviors are, what they look like. So if I see a thresher shark like next to me, I'll be like, whoa, that's cool, I'm not that scared. Something else you can do is take a look at beach entrances, because most of the time there's flyers telling you what the species of sharks are in those waters. I also check shark tracker apps, and I take a look at local news stories just to kind of see what's going on. So if it's a particularly sharky weekend, I'll stay home on the couch. The time of day that you go out is also another precaution that you can take. Marine life is very active early on in the day, like around dawn, and also at night at dusk. If you want to really feel better about things, just go in the middle of the day. Now, I do enjoy catching the occasional sunset from my boat because it's gorgeous from the water, especially at the waterline. It's, the colors in the sky are gorgeous, beautiful. Can't say enough about it. But when I do that, I try to be as close to the boat ramp as possible that I came from. 1, because I'm usually by myself, I want to get back into my car before it gets dark. 2, if something were to happen, I have an easier point of exiting the water. So yeah, you know, enjoy golden hour from land if it makes you feel better. When I'm by myself, I tend to stay close to shore and in shallow water when I possibly can. If I'm with friends, I am down to go into the deep blue across to Australia. But when I'm by myself, I try to stay close to shore and in the shallows. Sharks do frequent shallows, but it's just one of those things where I feel like if I'm in like 6-inch water, I won't see a 20-foot great white shark. Maybe I will. It's just one of those things. Makes me feel better. But I also go into deep water when I'm by myself and nothing has really happened, knock on wood, but yeah. Yum Yum Yellow. This one's a little tough. As kayakers, I think it's good to have low visibility in the water, but I think it's more important to have higher visibility above water. So yellow is one of those colors that is highly contrasted in the water, which is why sharks are attracted to that color. If it makes you feel better, tailor your wardrobe. Something that you could really do though is eliminate any shiny jewelry on your wrists or on your neck. Maybe replace your shiny bracelet with a shark band. I have a mirror reflector on my Lendl Cadence. I did do an experiment a few weeks ago to see what it looked like underneath the water. That mirror reflector glints in the sunlight and it does look like a big shiny fish scale. I'm still keeping it on there because again, my visibility above the water is way more important because the likelihood of a boat accident is much higher than a shark encounter or a shark being attracted to me. So we're gonna take a second and we're gonna get in touch with our inner selves and we're gonna ask ourselves a question. How would you react if a shark encounter happened? Not what, but how would you be? I would like to think that I would take a second and slow my heart rate down, take in the situation, know what to do, which is never going to happen. I mean, let's be real. But I think if you have this dialogue in your head before you get onto the water, then in the event of something happening, that dialogue is going to kick in instantaneously. So it's almost like training kicking in. Now, the what would you do is just as important, obviously. What I also think that I would do is I would keep my arms and tuck them in close to my body and then use my paddle as a tool as either a barrier or as a tool to bop that shark on the nose to be like, you don't want to mess with this girl right here. So again, it's just having these thoughts in place and having your preparations in place just in case it does happen. Maybe that will automatically kick into gear for you. The next thing I'm going to talk about is so important and probably the most important thing in this whole entire video, and it's the what are you going to have with you? And by that, I mean the training that you're going to have and the equipment that you're going to have. As far as training is concerned, I think self-rescues are probably the most important thing. This doesn't always mean it's for in the event of a shark encounter. It's just you lessen your time in the water and maybe you can even do it in a quieter manner. Now, equipment. If you've watched my videos before, you know I'm gonna say this.
Always wear a life jacket.
Wear a life jacket. Wear a life jacket. Make sure you have a life jacket on you in the event that you are in the water. It keeps your head above water. Potentially can create a little less drag on you, if you know what I mean. I wear a helmet, mostly to protect me from rocks, equipment, and boaters. However, could protect your head from teeth. A VHF radio, so important.
Got a copy of it? Emergency, emergency, emergency.
Cell phone, and also the Garmin InReaches I think is a great thing to have. I really want to get one for when I go on the water one day, just because if something were to happen, I could push a button, helicopter can come get me, my exact GPS coordinates are known. Great thing to have. Oh yes, I always forget this. Sometimes I forget about the most important thing. First aid kits, even if it's not just for shark stuff. You can get cut on a barnacle. Have a first aid kit with you. Know the dual purposes of the equipment that you do have with you. For example, I keep this on the deck of my boat most of the time. And this is a short tow, but this short tow could also double as a temporary tourniquet as I get potentially a real tourniquet from my first aid kit. If you have a buff with you, temporary compression bandage while you go into your first aid kit. Just be prepared for the event of these things happening as well. Have proper training, have proper equipment. I've had 2 shark experiences in the last 13 years. The first one was a basking shark, my first time stepping foot into salt water in a kayak. Basking sharks, so they told me, but it was like the fin didn't go underneath the water, so yeah. Last year was my second experience. I was doing a edge low brace turn, and the sound from my boat in the water never stopped, and I looked behind me and there was thrashing. But I think it was coincidental. I don't think the shark was coming after me. I'm pretty sure it just so happened to find a meal. It was a little bit closer to dusk, so yeah. I've also seen fishermen catching sharks from the water that I frequent often. Most likely, every single time I go in the water, there's probably a shark around. You know, again, respect it, but it's Mother Nature. This video wasn't meant to scare you, it's meant to empower you as a kayaker and as an ocean person, just like a hiker does when they're prepared for bear encounters and other wildlife encounters. I've left some links in the description below. There's links to 2 articles that have to do with sharks and kayaking. If you're a person that likes to read literature, the Malibu artist came out with an awesome video showing sharks and kayakers interacting with one another and what that looks like. Check that out. That link is in the description. And also Shark Bites, Christian Patron. He's a shark scientist and marine biologist that runs that channel. Check him out. subscribe to him because he does creature features, he does shark attack reactions, and just stories and a whole bunch of other things. So it's quite entertaining, and I think he does a great job. Wear a life jacket. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.